The Goldfields Railway is a heritage line running over 6.5 kilometres of track from Waihi to Waikino. This is a surviving portion of the original East Coast main trunk, which was closed and replaced by the Kaimai Tunnel deviation in 1978. Tourist trains started running in the early 1980s. In January 2024, I was able to chase the trains between Waihi and Waikino, then back again, whilst going to and from the Coromandel Peninsula. All services on this line are diesel-hauled these days, as the railway's only steam locomotive, a Peckett 042 tank engine built in 1938, has been out of action for many years. On Monday, January 8, they were using one of their Baguley-Drewry 040 diesel shunters, specifically number 3652. Then, on Thursday, January 11, they ran the two DBR class diesel locomotives that are owned by DBM Contracting. These two arrived at the railway in November 2022, and as much as I like seeing DBRs running on my local heritage line, I still think they are comically overpowered for such a short run. Even when I'm not actually riding on the train, I still like visiting the Goldfields Railway from time to time. The staff are always friendly, not just to me but regular punters as well, and I'm impressed by the variety of motive power they've got in Waihi. Not to mention the main station building in the town, which is still standing on its original site all these years later. The railway opened as far as Waihi in 1905, and it was originally intended as just a branch line out of Paeroa on the Thames branch, but it wasn't extended through to Tauranga until the 1920s. As for the station building at Waikino, that was originally located in Paeroa and moved down to Waikino in the early 1990s, just before the closure of the Thames branch. On Monday morning, we arrived at Waihi station to find Baguley-Drewry 040 number 3652 waiting to leave on the 9:45 to Waikino. This was the first run of the day. During the summer holidays, Goldfields runs their full schedule of 3 round trips per day every day of the week. Barry the engine driver told me that they'd recently been using both of their Baguley-Drewry engines in a top and tail formation, but they had to take 3650 and one coach off because the former had a water leak, if I recall correctly. Meanwhile, 3650 was parked over the pit outside a goods shed, while Dean's Niigata locomotive sat in the yard. This curious beast was built in 1983 and used to work at the paper mill in Kawero, now the domain of KiwiRail's DSG class. The Niigata engine didn't join the Goldfields fleet until July 2020. I was pleasantly surprised to see this rare locomotive in operation, given how long it had been since the last time, and I didn't take her for granted.
Back up very close to the cool on my right. Interesting.
After the visit to the Driving Creek Railway, we called into Waikino again on the way home. To work out what locomotives were running, I listened for the horn, which is typically blasted on the approach to the bridge across the Waihi River, located just round the corner from the station. I didn't know which locomotive, or in this case, locomotives, would be running on Thursday the 11th, so I was pleasantly surprised to see DBRs 1282 and 1199 again. This was the 2:30 PM departure from Waikino, the return leg of the day's last run, and we chased the DBRs all the way back to Waihi station. It wasn't long before we overtook 1199 into 1282, and when we did, Dean put on a show by opening the throttle all the way to notch 8. At least, I think that's what he did. I dare say 1199 would be used to that after all the years she spent being thrashed about on commuter services in Auckland. Initially, the DBRs stopped on the points outside the shed, so that 1199 could be refueled. Then they ran round to the other end of the train. With the two normal coaches, A1196 and AA1678, now uncoupled, it was time to pull up alongside the station building, where the locomotives were shut down for the night before another day's running on Friday, January 12.